stand for this. Attempted to knock a police inspector down.
Attempted to do what?
You wait.
You
and you are saying I should know the car before you refuse to. I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Good. I will not insult you. I'm a professional police officer. I will not insult you. But we will teach you a lesson.
You don't know whom you are dealing with. You can't beg him tomorrow. You
insult me whatever you can.
I'll send you 20.
It's a place. Police are working there.
Yeah.
Transfer is not punishment in police.
Okay.
Transfer is not punishment in police.
Don't worry.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Transfer is not punishment. It's attention.
No.
Yeah, human being and human being are staying attention. Same human being who voted for you. Same human being who voted for you. They are working there.
You are lucky. I'm not in my.
In your heart.
No, it's okay.
You are not in your heart.
All right.
You don't know the person you are talking.
Don't mind him.
And Honorable is telling police. Honorable, just this morning, a colleague of ours was knocked down. You heard the news. And you didn't follow the queue. My brother, why didn't you follow the queue? And he wanted to knock me down.
But don't you know?
He wanted to knock me down. I should get away. That's stupid.
No.
I should know him before I put him in order. My brother, why didn't you follow the queue? And don't you know this car? And I said, oh, I should know this car before you knock me down. Just this morning, a colleague of us was being knocked down. Just this morning.
The checkpoint was
the same mistake. Just follow the queue. You are not in a convoy. You are not in a convoy. Just follow the queue.
I'm
just
not in
follow.
A convoy. So if I've seen there's a space open,
yes,
and there's so much traffic, don't I have the right to?
What right do you have? You don't have any right. Just follow as your colleagues are following.
He cannot.
He cannot.
He cannot order.
This is security reasons. This security matters.
Not to
security
you.
Matters.
Not to you.
He can never order.
He can order you because
he can never order me.
If there is much,
my regional commander can order. This security apparatus.
I'm not saying he's order you. You can talk to your boss.
Look here.
You can talk to your boss. He can talk.
My brother, you say you will transfer me to NJ.
No, I'm talking to you.
Situation.
I will.
And don't think transfer is a punishment. Yes.
Don't worry.
Wherever there is a police station, when you are being sent there, it's not a punishment. Transfer is not a punishment. Let me tell you. There are people over there working, and there are human beings staying wherever you want to transfer me. And you are not a police officer to transfer me. You are not a police officer to transfer me. Yeah, you can snap me. I'm a nice and handsome guy. I'm a very nice and handsome officer.
Ugly
you can
guy,
snap me. Ugly guy. Hey, Honorable. Be careful of your choice of words.
You are nice and handsome.
Yes,
and I said you are ugly.
You can snap again. You can snap again. I'm ugly.
Yes.
You can insult me whatever you can. You can insult. You can insult and insult.
I say you are.
I'm a professional police officer. I will never insult you. Yes.
And I say you are ugly. Don't worry.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the MCE for Takoradi. In full glare of everyone. What he didn't know was that he was being recorded. Yes, it is the news review, but we're taking a different approach to it this morning. Sometimes I ask myself about the sheer arrogance of people in power. NDC, MPP. We've seen it all from them in the Fourth Republic. But I ask myself, what gives these people the temerity? We give them the power. The power is ours, and we give it to them. The police officer, he uses power because it is our power we vested in him, and so we give him the respect. And it is the same with the MCE, who is representative of Mr. President in a certain municipality. Now, this MCE says what? Someone is ugly? Oh, he's a fine gentleman, isn't he? He says he will transfer the guy to Enchi because guess what? He is in charge of MUSEC, the Municipal Security Council. He says he'll transfer the gentleman. I love the answer from the police officer when he said, you can even transfer me to Pualugu. There are people there. There are police officers there too. There are people there who need us. How does this happen? I mean, by any stretch of the imagination. And imagine an MCE saying, I would beat you to death. I would beat you to death. How does that, it boggles your mind, doesn't it? How does that happen? And for those other officers who came and were accusing their colleague officer of supposedly being intoxicated. You see, that's the problem in this country. Because when something wrong is done, depending on who is involved, you would want to go like, oh, and why are you doing this? Let it be. It happens, Mr. MCE. And you have the effrontery to tell the person he is ugly. You will transfer him to Enchi. Go ahead. Now you're in the grips of the police. Go ahead and transfer him. Go ahead. You see what power does? It's like Lord Acton's aphorism. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. As we get into it. But I just couldn't hold myself this morning because I just felt, where are we headed? I mean, if our politicians from either side, I don't care, NDC, MPP, if we allow them to do things like that, and he is a politician, he is the appointee of Mr. President in that municipality. I'll just leave you with this as my colleague. Cedric Hardwick, Ralph Richardson, and Lawrence Olivier were once riding together. When their car was stopped because of a traffic offense, Richardson said, "I am Sir Ralph Richardson. Seated next to me is Sir Cedric Hardwick, and behind me is Sir Lawrence Olivier." The policeman replied, "I don't care if it's the whole of..." Security analyst joins the conversation. Adib, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
It's a pleasure having you. I am expressing my effusions of, maybe not emotion, but dissatisfaction with the way sometimes our politicians react. But for you, what is your reaction to this development?
Well, I was in my office yesterday and I got the audio from a colleague online to get to know more about him because his demeanor, his posture, his opinions, even about the police, mannerism, is so inconsistent with the kind of responsibility that has been put on this gentleman. And you know, Ben, almost every big car flouted traffic regulations. I couldn't find a single so-called big car in traffic. Look, I got stuck in that traffic for close to 4 hours, and I used a similar vehicle. Guess what, Ben? I had a taxi driver approach. I've never seen this before. You know, that vehicle in traffic. So that should tell you something about our society. We have legitimized wrongdoing to the extent that it is abnormal to do the right thing. And I think this also gives me the opportunity to get Ghanaians to understand that you are not supposed to fear a politician. Politicians are watching this program on TV, on social media. Don't fear politicians. Politicians should fear you. They are supposed to serve us. It irks me when I see people almost wanting to lie down when they see honorable for him to step on them. Not too long ago, to speak with the president. So I was like, Mr. President, I don't like this idea of you wanting to take our guns from us. As he was speaking, the president wanted to interject. He was like, wait, I'm still talking. You are supposed to serve me. You know, like the guy was so bold and daring. And we don't see that here in Ghana. We are so timid. And I mean, not even be bolder than us. When you go to the airport, things are not done right. You see Nigerians stepping up and go like, no, this should not be done, you know, this way. As a result, we are giving these politicians a fool's day.
So Adib, we definitely are the ones with power. He did. The police has accosted him, yes. We heard reports at some point that he had been released, but the police report said that he had been arrested. What do you think should happen to someone who acts in the way this representative of the president in Takoradi acted? What do you think should happen to him?
Or Adib Sani. The fact that you are the chairman of the Municipal Security Council doesn't give you the temerity to behave in the manner he did. As a matter of fact, Ben, it is rather when you find yourself in that position that would make you say, I don't want my reputation to be dragged into the mud. So as much as I can, if perhaps I was not known, I would have done it. But rather, when you are known and you are in a position of responsibility, that should push you to doing the right thing. So he must be punished to serve as a deterrent to other public office holders who think they are beyond reproach. And the fact that they can do just anything and get away with it, because that has been the culture. They do the wrong thing, they are caught, they make a call, and the commander goes like, okay, look, this is a big man, let him. They have all sorts of illegal strokes and the alarms, and they cause a lot of havoc on these roads. Why should this be allowed to perpetuate?
Adik, hold your horses. We have Adam Bonner, Dr. Adam Bonner, also joining the conversation. Dr. Bonner, very good morning to you. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, good morning to you, Ben, and then good morning to my colleague, Sani.
Right. I would have you share your initial thoughts on this, but also focus on this for me. The wrong thing is done, and then a call is placed to whichever police officer or person in power, and then the wrong is overlooked. What is your reaction?
Well, yes. Okay, so the Dorcas, from my review of the tape, is, the officer who was the tape of the action is an inspector. And I think on the chief inspector actually was probably initially attempted to engage the MCE, but from the look of things, the MCE, because of bad mannerism and bad attitude, decided not to. So he attempted to engage Dorcas at the wrong time, and so an inspector. But as far as I'm concerned, you see, our 1992 Constitution, some of us have called for it to be amended, because when you have such persons with shady characters, becoming MCs and by extension chairing the district or the municipal security councils, then you know that we are in for a rough ride. You remember 2020 or so, or 2021 thereabout, 2020, one of them, a DC or MCE in the central region went, was so daring, drove he and his thugs to a police station in the central region to assault a counter NCO at a police station, released a case. We spoke about it. Eventually, we were told he was arrested, or he was going to be prosecuted. The police officer who was involved, who was beaten, got transferred, and it became something very murky. But it is a constitution. I blame this on the constitution, because then you heard him saying that he would transfer the police officer. Why can a civilian say, I will transfer you? Yeah, but the constitution provides that you are the municipal chief, the minister of a police officer or the police who are out there doing their work, and threatening them with transfers and literally denigrating and insulting them. So as far as I'm concerned, this will not stop. So long as
you say it will not stop.
No, it will not stop. It will not stop because if you know the way and manner some of these MCs became MCs and DCs, most of them not very educated, and so they've never been in any leadership position before, have never done anything in their lives. And so if you put such persons to be representative of the president or the vice president.
Moving forward, Adam Bonner is saying that this is not going to stop. What would you both, as we wrap the conversation with you and come back in the studio, what would you both like to see in respect of how this case is handled? Of course, it will set an example for other cases that would arise. I mean, if you listen to the MCE, it was clear he felt he was above the law. Not even the president is above the law country. So what do you want to see happen in this particular regard?
Well, I couldn't have agreed with my senior colleague more with respect to the issues of constitution and all that. I remember I was one of the communications persons on the constitutional review. Very difficult for a coup to happen in Ghana. As a result, some powers were vested in civilians. That is why before a state of emergency is imposed, it has to it has to be recommended by the security services, it has to be initiated by the executive, then it goes through parliament before it is actualized. So we don't have so much power concentrated in the hands of the military and the police that would make governments vulnerable or susceptible. Egypt, they suffer these occurrences very often. But that notwithstanding, I think that the powers have largely been abused, and I don't know what background checks is done on these persons before they are appointed DCs or MCs, because these are security heads who would have access to classified national security information. Is it by virtue of the fact that they are party foot soldiers? That's all. No due diligence is conducted. So I think that in as much as we should be looking at the constitutional clauses and all that, we should also ensure some level of accountability, behavior, oblivion of your standing in society. The laws would have to catch up with you, especially to serve as a deterrent to others.
Okay, gentlemen, I did say to wrap, but there's one thing that skipped my mind. In a minute each, I just want us to do this. The ECOWAS situation is still brewing. The Burkina Faso saga is still ongoing. Quoting Mr. President here, he says, this evolution in our region, and he goes on and on. You, Adib, have been reacting to some of what Mr. President said. The sanctions and developments so far, do you think it will bring about any change? That question to both of you in a minute, and it's a wrap. Adib, I'll start with you.
Sanctions doesn't affect the coup leaders, okay? Myriad of security challenges. So when you sanction, it makes it very more complex for them to be able to counter the threat. And this could pose a direct existential threat to the whole sub-region. So I think that ECOWAS should explore more on diplomacy, even if it has to be by rough tactics. So we get them to put together a civilian transitional team within the shortest possible time. An election would be held then on its coup response approach.
Okay.
As it doesn't really seek to help much.
All right. For you, Doc, your wrap-up comments in a minute.
My wrap-up comments on the MCE, I think that it will be good for the president to relieve him of his position while the courts, probably sending him to jail. Then for ECOWAS, I have maintained that ECOWAS has largely lost its credibility. You notice that anytime they meet for, a summit like this, when was the last time ECOWAS saw the need to have engage even CSOs? The leaders don't seem to understand what is going on, because then you see they retreat back into their various countries and they go to the presidential palaces and they are shepherded and, drive through traffic like the MCE wanted to do. So, as far as I am concerned, people are feeling the hardship all over ECOWAS. But do the leaders understand what the challenges are? So as far as I'm concerned, sanctions and more sanctions can only seek to punish and make things more difficult for the already impoverished ECOWAS citizen. And therefore, when there is a coup in any of these countries, when let the blood flow, let the blood flow. As far as I'm concerned, they are really not speaking to the citizens of ECOWAS. And until they the leaders, begin to speak directly to the citizens of ECOWAS, who has come to stay in ECOWAS, and they cannot do anything because...
And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Dr. Adam Bona, together with Adib Sani, security analyst, and we wish you the best of the day. Let's quickly...